Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Mandy's Not So Small Talk. Today, I want to share something deeply personal, reflective, and powerful, something that's been moving through my heart, not just as a thought, but as a lived revelation. We're going to talk about the concept of prostitution, but not in the way that you might expect. And we're going to connect that to Mary Magdalene, a woman whose name has been dragged through the mud for centuries, misunderstood and misrepresented. We're going to explore truth. I'm going to give you quite a different perspective. So let's talk about what prostitution really is. When most people hear the word prostitute, the image that comes up is often narrow and external. So it's usually a woman offering her body for money. So, like a street worker, an escort, someone judged, marginalized, and labeled by society. But I want to go deeper because the truest form of prostitution is not necessarily even sexual. So to me, prostitution is the act of giving your body, your energy, your gifts without connection to your soul. It is when you offer yourself in a way that is purely transactional, disconnected from purpose, from care, from presence. So if someone performs work just to make money while sacrificing their health, their joy, their truth, then that is also prostitution. So if someone gives their energy to a job, a relationship, or a system without presence, without heart, without meaning, that is a kind of spiritual prostitution. So this isn't about shame. This is about awareness because we've all done it at some point. And we've all overgiven ourselves at times to survive, to be accepted, to make ends meet. We've all bent out of shape trying to be chosen, loved, or secure in a world that demands disconnection just to get by. But once we see it, once we feel that ache inside that says, this is not in alignment with who I truly am, that's the moment that we begin to come back to ourselves. So let's talk about that. Not all exchanges are equal. So let's frame this. So if a woman offers her body for money, but she does so with care, with presence, with the intention to hold space for another human being, if she sees that person as an actual soul and not just a dollar sign, she is not prostituting herself in the deeper spiritual sense. But if anyone offers their gifts, their time or energy with no connection to their purpose or to those to which they are actually serving, so if the interaction is purely just mechanical, purely about survival, objectification, then yes, this is prostitution of the spirit. This is not a gendered thing. This is not limited to sex. It's about the energetic posture behind our choices. So, do we treat ourselves as sacred? And do we treat others as sacred? Do we honor the exchange we're engaging in? Are we performing, people pleasing, or surviving in ways that slowly erode our spirit? Next, I want to touch on the matrix and transactional living. In the matrix, the system we're born into. We are taught to measure value in terms of money, productivity, and external success. We're taught that our worth is tied to how much we produce, how much we sell, how much can we endure. But this way of living this way of living severs us from the soul. So many of us are in relationships where we are not being seen, jobs where we're not being fulfilled, roles where we're giving everything and we're receiving nothing that nourishes us back. So that is prostitution on a collective level, not because of what we're doing, but because of how we're doing it. Disconnected, depleted, and just unseen for who we truly are. The invitation here is not to judge, but to awaken, to come back into alignment with the soul, to reclaim our lives as sacred again. This brings me to Mary Magdalene. She's the woman, not the myth. For centuries, she has been falsely labeled as a prostitute, but this was not truth. It was political revisionism by the church, and there is no biblical evidence that she was a sex worker. That label was just imposed to diminish her power. Why? Because Mary Magdalene wasn't just a passive follower of Jesus. She was his spiritual counterpart. She was a mystic, a teacher, a healer, an initiate. Some ancient texts even call her the apostle to the apostles. She understood the mysteries of Christ's teachings in ways that others did not. She was not just beside him, she was with him. But a woman that powerful, that embodied, that intuitive, threatened the structure of the patriarchy. So she was reduced to a sinner, a fallen woman, a whore. But here's where I want to go even deeper. Even if Mary Magdalene had once worked in a brothel, would that make her unworthy of love? Unworthy of spiritual ascension? Of course not. Because healing and liberation do not require a clean past. They require a willing heart. So the idea that only the pure are holy is a lie of religious dogma. It's designed to keep people feeling disqualified from divinity, especially women. So it's the same lie that tells us that Jesus was perfect from birth, that he never struggled, never doubted, never wrestled with the world or with himself. But what if part of Jesus's divinity was that he earned it through experience? What if he too had to walk through his own human limitations to rise into consciousness? What if Mary and Jesus both had to walk through shadow, through heartbreak, through the fire of life to become who they were? That makes them relatable. That makes them mirrors, not idols. And it makes the path of awakening something that we could also walk. Because no past disqualifies you from wholeness. In fact, our past is often what tempers us to carry the sacred wisdom. So let's talk about the prostitute archetype. Many of us carry the prostitute archetype inside, that inner voice that says, I have to give myself away to survive. I must perform to be accepted. I can't say no. I might lose everything. So this archetype is deeply embedded, especially in women, but not only. And it's time to heal it. It's time to reclaim our work, our relationships, our bodies, our creativity as sacred again. So when we work with soul, when we speak with presence, when we offer love, not out of obligation, but as a true expression of who we are, we stop selling ourselves short. We remember, I am not for sale, but I am here to serve. And there is a difference. So let's talk about living in sacred exchange. Let's redefine what it means to give, to serve, to connect. Sacred exchange is not about perfection. It's about being in integrity with your soul, about being present in the moment, about remembering the divinity in yourself and in the other. So whatever you do, whether you're raising children, working a job, touching a lover, sharing your gifts, ask yourself, am I offering this with love? Is my soul included in this exchange? If yes, then that is sacred, no matter what it looks like on the outside. So there's one last thing that I want to share, maybe the most important. When it comes down to it, everything is hearsay. Ancient stories, whether of Mary, Jesus, or anything else, were passed through many mouths, shaped by time, rewritten by hands with power, and they are not literal records. They are symbols. They are mirrors for our own evolution. And so the truth can only be known through the wisdom of your heart, not your mind, not tradition, not authority. Real truth doesn't create fear or oppression. It doesn't make you shrink. It makes you feel more love, not less. So when a teaching causes anger, judgment, or shame, pause. That might not be the truth. But if it opens you, if it softens you, if it brings you into deeper compassion, then that's how you know. So the past will always be a kind of fantasy. And so will the future. So all we ever truly have is this moment. this breath, this choice. So when we act from love in the present, with integrity, with awareness, and with reverence, there is no future to fear and no past that holds us small. You don't have to be spotless. I've got spots. To be sacred. You don't have to be untouched to be divine. You just have to be willing to return to your truth, willing to live aligned with love. And that is your liberation. If this resonated with you, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. If it stirred something in your body, in your spirit, please share your reflections and drop a comment below. Even if you just give me a nice little emoji, that helps grow my channel. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for walking this sacred path. And thank you for remembering who you are.